Here it is, some of the more picturesque June tornado video you're ever going to see in the state of Alabama. This was in Abbeville, southeast part of the state. Thanks to Bradley Bedwell for sharing the video with us at WVTM 13. Sizable tornado, but most of what you see there is actually a wall cloud. It was so low to the ground that it looked like the tornado might be a mile wide. In reality, it was probably a few hundred yards wide at the most, and the kind of damage it did, just based on the pictures and the video like this, looks something similar to maybe EF1 or EF2 level damage. Of course, the National Weather Service will be the one to determine exactly what happens. Here's a still shot of it from Terry Still, and again, most of what you see there in the video and in the picture is wall cloud. That's the lowering from which the tornado would descend. Most of the tornadoes around Alabama and Georgia were fairly narrow. They weren't huge, but some of them were pretty strong, especially over in Georgia. There may have been some EF2 or even EF3 damage with some of that action earlier today. So here we are, 9:30 on Wednesday evening. WVTM 13 live Doppler here in central Alabama, finally devoid of major thunderstorms. But you don't have to go too far to the west to find some more. The action's getting pretty heavy over in Mississippi. Numerous thunderstorms in central Mississippi are moving east at close to 60 miles per hour. They're booking it. So let's put a storm track just on this complex. Now, just because you see a town name pop up here doesn't mean necessarily that every town's going to get a storm. But look at there. Columbus, Mississippi, about 10:45 to 11 o'clock. Tuscaloosa would be about 11:30 to midnight. Centerville, Birmingham, Shelby County, just after midnight. And then I think probably what happens with this is they build a little farther to the south instead of continuing on due east. But nonetheless, there's still a lot of thunderstorm action out there, and I think we're going to wind up with even more thunderstorms before all is said and done. And just taking a peek at the Storm Prediction Center's filtered reports, so far 255 reports of severe weather based on the filtering, which is sort of like artificial intelligence going through it, a little machine learning there. The unfiltered reports, just number of reports that have come in so far today, 8 tornadoes. This is for June 14th, 8 tornadoes, 224 reports of wind damage, 139 reports of hail damage, and 41 of those reports over the southeast are for hail damage that is considered to be significant, or hailstones that are significant. And that's big doings for June around here. Overnight through early Thursday morning, there is still a chance of a few severe thunderstorms around now to about 1 a.m. over the western part of the state. Now, let me just point this out. Huntsville, Florence, Cullman, Gadsden Center, you're in a marginal risk. It's conceivable that a thunderstorm could develop there. I just don't see too much in the way of severe weather for North Alabama tonight. Having said that, maybe 1 or 2 storms. The farther south and west you go, especially south of Jasper, south of Birmingham, south of Oxford and Anniston, the more likely it is that you're going to wind up with at least some heavy storms, stuff that'll rattle you out of the bed 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then down south, since we're looking at this through about 7 a.m., once we're past, say, sunrise, I think everything's down here, down below Thomasville and Haneyville, toward Camden, and then toward the Alabama Gulf Coast. And if you are or know someone who's at the beach right now, Thursday does not look like a good day for the Alabama Gulf Coast. So here's what we think the thunderstorms are going to look like through the early part of the morning. Yet again, this same zone right here that we've been talking about, mainly south of Birmingham, mainly south of Tuscaloosa, some really heavy storms develop. There's just not a lot of instability here across the central part of the state as of midnight to really fire up any thunderstorms. Same thing through about 2 a.m. I do think the atmosphere is going to recover some during the day tomorrow, though. Watch this. We start seeing the recovery in parts of North Alabama and down across Mississippi and Louisiana. And as this energy starts getting pulled back up into the state, yeah, it's entirely possible that we could see a few more thunderstorms during the day tomorrow. So there's 7 a.m., not a lot of storms around central Alabama, but maybe 1 or 2 clusters of those heavier downpours and potentially a severe storm or 2 to the southwest of Tuscaloosa. Most of this action down close to the Gulf Coast. During the day Thursday, we will see a few more popcorn thunderstorms developing. We're calling it an impact day just because the Storm Prediction Center still maintains that limited risk of severe weather, a marginal threat. But I don't really think there's a whole lot going on for most of the day Thursday, which is good because it's been awfully busy the last 24 hours. So 11 o'clock Thursday morning, Look at this. This pipeline of hot, humid air at about 5,000 feet above the surface is one of the main driving factors in this. The other factor is we have a very wavy subtropical jet stream that's rolling disturbance after disturbance across the south. And you combine those two, and you get exactly what we've had today. So tomorrow evening, there's the next cold pool. There's the next line of thunderstorms that's dropping south. And here's the next burst of energy that's coming in. And by the way, there's the next disturbance. So what happens with that one? Well, let's roll forward through time. The heat and humidity pump up behind this. Early Friday morning, maybe we get another batch of heavy thunderstorms right there. There's a chance, look, it could be here, it could be here. When we're dealing with this kind of chaos, we know they'll be in the area, but will it hit Birmingham, or will it hit Huntsville, or will it hit Montgomery and Mobile, Jackson? It's just hard to say. So just remember, we're looking at a good chance of thunderstorms for the next several days. Friday, most of the day, I think, will be rain-free around Alabama, but then Friday evening, watch what happens right in this area. So we're just pumping it. And then here comes that next disturbance out here to the west. So we've got the disturbance kicking in. You've got everything you need. X marks the spot where some heavy storms should start developing Friday evening. So let's see what happens. Sure enough, the model here from WSI, the graph, wants to take it down close to the Gulf Coast. Some guidance is taking thunderstorm activity and blowing it up in this zone right here on Friday. And then you also have this that we may have to deal with Friday night into early Saturday morning. So no clear answers other than the fact that we got a whole lot of thunderstorms in the forecast. Thursday, daytime high temperatures are going to be in the 80s, a good chance of showers and thunderstorms, especially to the south of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. Friday, another chance of heavy thunderstorms. The main risk of any severe weather, Friday afternoon, Friday evening in that zone. But I still think down here toward the Alabama Gulf Coast, things could get pretty active at times on Friday. Saturday may be the best looking day that we have. Smile for a moment, take a deep breath, only a few isolated storms. And then we get into Sunday. More strong storms are likely, and some of those could be pretty intense. Starting toward Arkansas and North Mississippi, very early Sunday morning. So early in the a.m., we'll have thunderstorms developing there that should get into central Alabama by lunchtime. So be on the lookout Sunday. Overall rainfall totals here, we're probably in the neighborhood of, say, 2 or 3 inches of rain over most of North Alabama, right in here. But then you get down here towards southeast Alabama, and I think there's a high probability that from Montgomery southward, we're dealing with maybe 5-6 inches of additional rainfall through the weekend and early next week.